You don't have a family of your own anyway, so it works out. That's what my mother declared at Thanksgiving dinner, right in front of my two siblings, their spouses, and all five children, as she casually announced I'd be watching every single kid over Christmas. She hadn't asked me. She never does. What she didn't realize was that I already had a plane ticket tucked in my bag, and I had no intention of canceling it. By Christmas morning, her flawless family holiday unraveled in ways she never foresaw, and the very group chat she used to shame me became the thing that finally silenced her. Before I continue, if this story resonates with you, please hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing where you're listening from and what time it is there. I'd genuinely love to know. I'm Jessica, 27, and this is the moment I stopped being my family's unpaid babysitter. Let me take you back to Thanksgiving weekend, the night everything shifted. My mother's house stands on a modest quarter-acre lot at the end of Sycamore Lane in Millbrook, Virginia. White siding, black shutters, a porch swing that's hung crooked since 2014. Every holiday, that house carries the same familiar scent. Roasted turkey, cinnamon sticks simmering on the stove, and the faint scorch of whatever Linda Mercer forgot in the oven while she was busy orchestrating everything. That Thanksgiving, all four of us were present. Karen, my eldest sister, 35, with three kids, Derek, my brother, 33, with his 4-year-old twins, their spouses, five children under 8 tearing figure eights around the dining table, and me, 27, single, seated in the chair nearest the kitchen, as always, positioned halfway between family and cleanup duty. We were halfway through dinner when Mom rose and tapped her wine glass like she was about to give a toast. She beamed at the table. "So, I've been thinking about Christmas. Karen and Brad, you two deserve that resort getaway you've mentioned. Derek, I know Tina's parents are eager to see the twins. Here's the plan." She turned directly to me. "Jessica will stay here with the kids, same as every year." I opened my mouth, but Karen spoke first. "Oh, perfect," she said, sliding her phone across the table toward me. "I already printed the allergy list for you." I glanced at the sheet. Lily's peanut allergy, Ethan's bedtime routine, Noah's eardrops, all laminated, color-coded, like an onboarding packet for new staff. I scanned the table. Derek was slicing turkey, Brad was refilling wine, Tina stared at her plate. No one blinked. No one said, "Hold on, did we ask Jessica?" So I said it aloud. "Actually, I have plans this Christmas." Every knife and fork froze. Then my mother uttered the words I'll never erase. "Plans? What plans? You don't have a family of your own anyway, so it works out." I stayed silent after that, at the table anyway. I simply finished my mashed potatoes as the conversation rolled forward like nothing had occurred, because to them, nothing had. The kids were in bed by 8. Karen and Brad claimed the guest room. Derek and Tina headed to their hotel. I grabbed my coat and moved toward the front door. Mom intercepted me in the kitchen, loading the dishwasher, the way she always does when she wants a discussion she can disguise as casual. Hands occupied, gaze lowered, tone light. "Jessica, I don't understand what the fuss is about." I told her the truth. I'd booked a flight. I'd been planning this for months. I'd already secured the time off from the clinic. She spun around and stared at me like I'd announced I was joining a cult. "A plane ticket? For what? Some beach?" She shook her head. "You're being dramatic, Jessica. It's only a few days with the kids. It's not like I'm asking you to move mountains." "You didn't ask me at all, Mom." From the living room, Karen's voice drifted in. "Honestly, Jess, I'd do the same for you if you had kids. It's what sisters do." I glanced back. Derek's chair was already empty. He'd slipped out without a word. I said, "Good night." I walked out. The screen door snapped shut behind me, and the November chill struck my face like icy water. I sat in my car for a full minute before starting the engine. My hands trembled, not from fear, not from sorrow, but from the slow, nauseating realization that no one in that house had ever asked what I wanted, not once, not in years. I drove home. I opened my phone. The ticket was still there in the app. Outer Banks, December 23rd. 2 passengers. To grasp why I nearly canceled that ticket, you need to see how it all began, not with one incident, but with a quiet, creeping pattern I mistook for normal. 4 Christmases ago, I was 23, fresh out of nursing school, starting my first real job at Millbrook Family Health. Karen had just had Lily, a colicky newborn who could wake up the entire street. She and Brad were exhausted. On Christmas Eve, Mom pulled me aside in that gentle tone she uses when she's already made her mind but wants you to believe it was yours. Honey, Karen needs a break. You're so wonderful with kids. Could you just watch Lily for a few hours on Christmas Day so we can all enjoy dinner? A few hours. That's what she said. I still have the text from that morning. Just a few hours. Honey, you're the best. A few hours stretched into the full day. Lily cried through lunch, cried through dinner. I paced the hallway with her while everyone else lingered at the table, pulling crackers and passing gravy. At 10 p.m., I ate cold leftover turkey alone in the kitchen. Quiet house, everyone else in bed or gone home. I washed my plate, wiped the counter, drove home. The next morning, Karen called. "Did Lily sleep through the night after you left?" She didn't ask if I'd slept. She didn't ask if I'd eaten. She didn't say thank you. And back then, I didn't notice. I told myself she was drained, Mom needed help. This was what good daughters did. I believed it. That was year 1. The shape was set, and I hadn't even seen it. Year 2, the load doubled. Karen now had Eepin, too, a newborn who slept in 20-minute snatches. Derek and Tina had the twins, Mason and Harper, barely 4 months. Christmas at Mom's now meant 4 kids under 3 and 1 designated babysitter. Karen and Brad took a spa day on the 24th. Just a few hours, Karen said. They returned at 9 p.m. Derek and Tina announced they needed to dash out for some last-minute shopping. They disappeared until dinner time. By around 3 p.m., I'd run out of diapers. I texted Karen. She Venmo'd me $50, accompanied by a single hugging face emoji. No thank you, no I owe you, just $50 and a digital embrace for an entire day of wrangling 4 infants solo in a house thick with the smell of spit-up and gingerbread. Year 3 hit harder. Karen was pregnant with Noah and on bed rest by Thanksgiving, so the Christmas arrangement kicked off early. Mom called me the first week of December. "We need you at the house by the 23rd. Karen can't handle anything this year." I tried pushing back. What if Karen and Derek each take a day? I'll cover one, they rotate in. Mom's reply came instantly. "They have spouses to spend time with, Jessica. You'll understand when you have someone." The words landed like a gentle slap, soft surface, sharp sting beneath. I was selected not because I offered, but because I was unclaimed. That year, I canceled Christmas Eve plans with friends. At 11 p.m., sprawled on Mom's couch amid sleeping toddlers, I texted Megan. "Rain check again, family stuff." Her response arrived in seconds. "Jess, this is the 3rd year." 3 simple words, and for the first time, I almost heard them. Year 4 cracked something inside me, not with a crash, but with a fine, silent fracture that only registers when pressure finds the exact spot. 5 children now, Lily 6, Ethan 4, the twins 3, Noah freshly 1 and teething, wailing like the sky was falling every 90 minutes. Karen and Brad jetted off to a resort in Shenandoah Valley for 3 days. Derek and Tina headed to Tina's parents for 2.5. Mom remained at the house but spent her hours cooking, entertaining neighbors, and turning the dining room into a photo-ready display. I managed 5 kids alone for 3 full days, sleeping on an air mattress in the children's room that flattened by 2 a.m. On day 2, Noah's fever hit 102 degrees. I called Karen. No answer. She was at the spa. I called Mom, who was downstairs frosting a cake. Just give him Tylenol. You're a nurse, Jessica. I bundled all five into the car and drove to urgent care. Noah shrieking in his seat, the twins kicking the back of mine, Lily clutching Ethan's hand and whispering, "Is Noah going to be okay?" The copay came to $180. I paid with my debit card. No one reimbursed me. When Karen returned on the 26th, rested and sun-kissed, she asked, "Is Noah okay?" "Yes," I said. She reached into her bag and handed me a candle. "We got you this from the gift shop." A $12 candle for 3 days of solo childcare, a fever emergency, and an unreimbursed $180 bill. That night, I drove home, parked in the apartment lot, and sat in the dark for 20 minutes. No tears, no phone calls, just a quiet closing inside me, like a door latching softly when you finally release the handle. That Christmas didn't ignite rage, it planted something steadier, more final. The danger of being the dependable one is that people eventually stop seeing you. They see the tasks you complete, the hands that tidy, the car that arrives on schedule, the voice that says okay. They forget there's a person attached. It wasn't only Christmas. Whenever Mom needed a ride to the eye doctor, she dialed me, not Karen 15 minutes closer, not Derek home Fridays, me, because I was flexible. All holidays I arrived a day early to scrub the house, set the table, fold guest towels. Karen showed up with a store-bought pie and a grin. Derek arrived empty-handed and no one batted an eye. Mom introduced me to neighbors the same way every time. "This is my youngest. She's always so helpful." Never, "She's a registered nurse." Never, "She just got promoted." Just helpful, like a named appliance. When I graduated from my RN program, cap, gown, ceremony, not one family member came. Mom had a migraine, Karen cited Lily's playdate, Derek forgot the date. Only Megan showed up. She brought flowers and snapped the single graduation photo I own, me in the parking lot clutching my diploma. That evening, I opened the Mercer family group chat and scrolled back 3 years. Nearly every message was Mom assigning me a chore or Karen forwarding a checklist, doctor reminders, grocery runs, pickup times, babysitting details. In 3 full years, not one said, "How are you, Jessica?" I used to excuse it. They're busy. But busy people still make time for what matters to them. I simply wasn't on that list. So there I stood, late November, 4 Christmases into a pattern I'd finally labeled. On my kitchen counter lay the notebook tallying the first thing I'd ever saved purely for myself, $2,340. 6 months of overtime, packed lunches, skipped takeout, home-brewed coffee every morning. I could recite the equation in my sleep. 4 extra night shifts monthly at time and a half, minus rent, minus groceries, remainder tucked in the sock drawer envelope. Megan and I had mapped the trip meticulously. An Airbnb 2 blocks from the beach, a seafood shack she'd found online, a sunrise walk, rocking chairs on the porch. I hadn't seen the ocean since I was 15. Then my phone buzzed. Group chat. Mom. "Jessica, forwarding Karen's list. Kids' schedule same as last year. Don't forget Noah's eardrops." Same as last year, as though my answer was already given, as though the notebook, the overtime, the 6 months of sacrifice didn't exist, because to her, they didn't. I stared at the message. 6 months of extra shifts for a trip she'd mentally erased without asking. If you were holding that phone, what would you have felt? Have you ever saved for something that was finally truly yours, only to watch someone dismiss it like pocket change? Share your story in the comments. I'd really like to hear it. I set the phone face down. The screen went black. For the first time in 4 years, I didn't reply, okay. 2 days later, Megan and I sat in a booth at Hal's Diner off Route 15 after a 12-hour shift, the bone-deep tired where fluorescent lights feel like a personal attack. I nursed a sweet tea. She ignored a basket of fries. "So what are you going to do?" she asked. I stirred my straw in slow circles. "I haven't answered the group chat." That's not what I asked. I met her eyes. "If I go to the beach, Mom will lose it." "Your mom will lose it no matter what. That's not the same as whether it's the right choice." Megan dipped a fry, pointed it at me. "Do you actually want to cancel the trip?" "No." "Then don't. It's not that simple." "It is. You just don't want it to be because simple means facing the fallout." She set the fry down. Jess, your mom gets upset every time you claim something for yourself. Nursing school? A phase. Your own apartment? A waste of money. Her anger isn't the yardstick for what's right. I stayed quiet. She was correct, and I resented how cleanly the truth cut. What if they never forgive me? I whispered. Megan leaned back. What if you never forgive yourself from missing another Christmas that's only yours in name? The diner buzzed, plates clinking, cook calling orders, a couple laughing near the register. I took a long sip of tea. I'm going, I said. I'm not canceling. Megan's smile was small, patient, like she'd been waiting years to hear those words. Now the only question left was whether I'd warn my family before I left or let Christmas morning reveal the truth on its own. The call came Wednesday evening. I was rinsing dishes. She appeared at family gatherings perhaps twice a year. Always polite, always brief, always gone early. Most of the family chalked it up to her being private. I'd long suspected it ran deeper. Jessica, I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. No, Aunt Pauline, what's going on? A small pause. I saw the group chat. Your mother posted that schedule and tagged you like you're the hired help. I just wanted to check. Are you okay? I nearly dropped the plate in my hand. I'd forgotten she was even in the group. She never posted, never reacted. I'd assumed she'd muted it years earlier. She hadn't. I'm okay, I said. I'm just figuring things out. I know what that means, her voice gentled. When I was your age, Linda made me organize every family reunion, invitations, food, cleanup, everything. I did it for 8 years. Not once did anyone offer to pitch in. When I finally stopped, your mother told the whole family I was selfish. She gave a short, dry laugh. Sound familiar? My throat tightened. What did you do? I stopped showing up until they treated me like a guest instead of the staff. Took about 2 years, but they came around. I stayed quiet. She gave me the space. Whatever you decide, sweetheart, just know that choosing yourself isn't the same as abandoning your family. I managed a whispered thank you. It felt thin. Then, right before she hung up, Pauline added the line that shifted everything. And Jess, I've been reading that group chat for 3 years. I've seen every message your mother sent about you. You should know that. The line went still. My kitchen felt suddenly vast and empty. After she hung up, I sank onto the couch, phone in my lap, and opened the group chat. I'd skimmed these threads before, hundreds of messages over 3 years, but always the way you glance at familiar billboards on your commute. Routine, expected, ignorable. This time, I read with new eyes. Last Christmas, December 24th, 3:14 p.m., I was at urgent care with Noah, 5 kids in tow. While I was there, Mom texted Karen in the same group I was part of, as though I wouldn't see it. She's fine. She likes feeling needed. It gives her something to do. Karen, 2 minutes later, lol, true, better than her sitting alone in that little apartment. I kept scrolling. 2 years earlier, the week after I'd floated the idea of rotating babysitting, Mom to Karen, I'll handle Jessica. She'll come around. She always does. And the most recent one, the night after Thanksgiving, less than 2 weeks ago, while I'd driven home with shaking hands through the dark, Mom had typed to Karen, Jessica doesn't have a real life anyway. She should be grateful we include her at all. I read it once, twice, a third time, slowly, the way you reread a sentence that refuses to compute until it computes too clearly. She should be grateful we include her at all. I set the phone down, pressed my palms flat against my knees and breathed. I didn't screenshot. I didn't need to. Those words lived in a chat every family member, including Aunt Pauline, could open any time. I picked the phone back up and called Megan. 1 sentence. We're going, and I'm not telling anyone. The next 2 weeks felt surreal. I worked my shifts, came home, cooked dinner, answered friends' texts, all while carrying a secret that rested in my chest like a smooth, warm stone. The group chat kept buzzing. Mom sent near-daily updates. Noah's nap schedule, Ethan's new food sensitivity, Lily's preferred brand of wipes. Every message was directed at me, yet none were truly for me. They were orders. dispatches from command to a recruit who'd never been asked to enlist. I read them. I didn't reply. I marked them seen and moved on. At home, I packed deliberately. One carry-on, sundresses, swimsuit, sandals, the paperback I'd been meaning to start since summer. I set my out of office at the clinic, confirmed the Airbnb, checked the Outer Banks forecast, mid-50s, sunny, light breeze off the water. Not beach weather to most people, exactly right for me. 1 week before Christmas, Mom called. "So you'll be at the house by noon on the 23rd, right? Karen's flight is at 3. She needs to leave by 1. I held the phone to my ear and glanced at the suitcase by the door. "I'll let you know, Mom." Silence. "What do you mean, I'll let you know? It's Christmas, Jessica." "I'll let you know." I could hear her breathing, the mental gears grinding, irritation rising, the urge to snap held back for now. She still believed she had time. She still believed I'd fold. I always had. I hung up. The apartment fell quiet, just the radiator and the rhythm of my own breath. Following through on my own plans felt like the boldest act I'd ever committed. December 21st, our final shift before the break. Megan and I ate lunch in the clinic staff room, plastic chairs, a microwave that still smelled faintly of last week's soup, a window overlooking the parking lot where my packed car waited. "Are you nervous?" she asked, peeling the foil off a yogurt. "A little. Not about the trip, about my phone on the 23rd. "Turn it off." "I can't. What if something's actually wrong with one of the kids?" She considered it. "Then leave it on, but don't answer unless it's a genuine emergency. You'll know the difference between panic and guilt trips. You've had plenty of practice." My phone buzzed between us. Group chat. Mom sent a near-daily update. Noah's nap schedule, Ethan's new food sensitivity, Lily's preferred brand of wipes. Every message was directed at me, yet none were truly for me. They were orders, dispatches from command to a recruit who'd never been asked to enlist. I read them. I didn't reply. I marked them seen and moved on. At home, I packed deliberately. One carry-on, sundresses, swimsuit, sandals, the paperback I'd been meaning to start since summer. I set my out of office at the clinic, confirmed the Airbnb, checked the Outer Banks forecast, mid-50s, sunny, light breeze off the water. Not beach weather to most people, exactly right for me. 1 week before Christmas, Mom called. "So you'll be at the house by noon on the 23rd, right? Karen's flight is at 3. She needs to leave by 1. I held the phone to my ear and glanced at the suitcase by the door. "I'll let you know, Mom." Silence. "What do you mean, I'll let you know? It's Christmas, Jessica." "I'll let you know." I could hear her breathing, the mental gears grinding, irritation rising, the urge to snap held back for now. She still believed she had time. She still believed I'd fold. I always had. I hung up. The apartment fell quiet, just the radiator and the rhythm of my own breath. Following through on my own plans felt like the boldest act I'd ever committed. December 21st, our final shift before the break. Megan and I ate lunch in the clinic staff room, plastic chairs, a microwave that still smelled faintly of last week's soup, a window overlooking the parking lot where my packed car waited. "Are you nervous?" she asked, peeling the foil off a yogurt. "A little. Not about the trip, about my phone on the 23rd. "Turn it off." "I can't. What if something's actually wrong with one of the kids?" She considered it. "Then leave it on, but don't answer unless it's a genuine emergency. You'll know the difference between panic and guilt trips. You've had plenty of practice." My phone buzzed between us. Group chat. Mom sent a near-daily update. Noah's nap schedule, Ethan's new food sensitivity, Lily's preferred brand of wipes. Every message was directed at me, yet none were truly for me. They were orders, dispatches from command to a recruit who'd never been asked to enlist. I read them. I didn't reply. I marked them seen and moved on. At home, I packed deliberately. One carry-on, sundresses, swimsuit, sandals. At 5:30 a.m., the alarm cut through the dark. I didn't reach for snooze. I'd been awake since 5, eyes fixed on the ceiling, listening to my own pulse, braced for the familiar crawl of guilt. It never came. I showered, dressed, jeans, soft sweater, my favorite boots. In the bathroom mirror, I caught my reflection and almost didn't recognize the woman looking back. Not because she'd changed, but because she looked ready. Megan pulled up at 6:15, headlights slicing the pre-dawn. I locked the apartment, rolled my suitcase down the stairs, and slid it into her trunk. The air bit sharp enough to sting my cheeks. "Ready?" she asked. "Ready." We drove to the airport in comfortable silence, no need to fill it. The highway lay mostly empty, a few semis, scattered early commuters. Christmas lights twinkled from houses along Route 29 like distant stars. At the airport, everything blurred into motion. Check-in, security, gate B7, 2 window seats. At 8 a.m., my phone glowed. Group chat, Mom. "Good morning. Karen's dropping the kids at 10. See you at noon." An exclamation point, a smiley. She had no clue. I read it. Megan glanced over but stayed quiet, opening her book. I tucked the phone into my bag. At 8:20, they called our group. I handed over my boarding pass, walked the jetway, settled into my seat, window side. Engines hummed, lights dimmed. Then we were taxiing, lifting, climbing. I watched the ground shrink. Somewhere below, my mother was arranging juice boxes for 5 children and reserving me an air mattress. Above the clouds, it was only sunlight. We touched down just after 10. Outer Banks carried the scent of salt and pine, nothing like Virginia in December. The air felt cool on the surface, but warmth lingered underneath, the kind the ocean holds after a morning of sun. Megan grabbed the rental car. I switched my phone back on. 6 missed calls from Mom, 3 from Karen, 1 text from Derek. "Hey, where are you? Mom's calling me." The group chat had ignited. 11:58 a.m. Mom. "Jessica, where are you? Karen's already gone. The kids are here. Call me." 12:03. Mom again. "This is not funny. I'm calling you." 12:07. Mom, all caps. "Jessica, answer your phone." I stared at the screen. Megan loaded bags into the trunk, pretending not to notice. At 12:12, Mom called again. I answered. "Jessica, where are you? Karen left an hour ago. The kids are—" "I'm not coming, Mom." 3 seconds of silence. I counted them. "I told you I had plans." I added, softly, "Merry Christmas." I hung up. My hands stayed steady. My voice had stayed steady. And the quiet that followed, standing in a parking lot with seagulls wheeling overhead and sand skittering across asphalt, felt like the first real silence I'd known in years. 12:20, the group chat exploded. "Mom, she's not coming. She left. She left us with 5 children." Karen from somewhere mid-flight. "What? This can't be happening. I can't cancel my flight." Derek. "Wait, seriously?" I locked the screen and slipped the phone into my pocket. Megan opened the driver's door and met my eyes over the roof. "Beach," she said. Beach. The ocean was 7 minutes away. My family was 300 miles behind me. Karen never reached the resort. I learned the rest later, pieced together from the group chat I read but never answered. She'd been at the gate, boarding already begun, Brad seated. Mom's call came through. 5 kids screaming in the background. "You need to come back. Jessica isn't coming. I can't do this alone." Karen called Brad from the jetway. Whatever passed between them, her version hit the chat filtered through rage. I had to leave the airport. The resort was $1,200 non-refundable. Change fee on my ticket, $400. That's $1,600 gone because Jessica decided to take a vacation. Brad apparently didn't echo her outrage. Karen posted his words. "Brad says this is our problem, not Jessica's. He literally said, you can't keep dumping your kids on your sister and expect her to say yes forever." I read that 3 times. Brad, who'd barely spoken more than pass the rolls at Thanksgiving, had finally said it aloud. By 2 p.m., Karen was back at Mom's, bags still packed, mascara streaked, standing in the foyer while 5 children asked why Aunt Jess wasn't there. That's when Karen asked the question no one had bothered with before. Mom, did Jessica actually say she would watch them? Silence. She didn't need to say it. She always does. Karen stared. Mom, that's not the same thing. One sentence, a hairline crack in the wall my mother had built over 4 years. Derek had always stayed silent, not thoughtful silence, convenient silence, the kind that lets years of exploitation slide by without comment. But on December 23rd, his wife spoke for him. Derek and Tina were 2 hours away at their parents' house when Mom called. From his messages in the chat, Mom wants us to come back. She says she can't handle the kids alone. Then Tina took over. The tone shifted, direct, punctuation crisp. Linda called and told Derek to drive back to help with the kids. We just got here. My parents cooked all day. We're not leaving. 20 minutes later, Derek posted again. This time I could feel Tina looking over his shoulder. Mom, I think we need to talk about this after Christmas. Jessica might have a point. Mom fired back instantly. A point? She abandoned this family on Christmas Eve. Derek didn't reply. Tina did, privately, to me. I didn't see it until later that night, wrapped in a blanket on the Airbnb porch, ocean a block away. Hey, Jessica, it's Tina. I want you to know something. We pay our babysitter $20 an hour. You watched 5 kids last Christmas. That's $700 in free labor. And your mom called you selfish for stopping. I just want you to know you're not the selfish one. I read it twice, then pressed the phone to my chest and let the waves fill the quiet. My mother has always excelled at one thing, controlling the narrative. She did it when Dad left. She did it when Pauline stepped back. And on the night of December 23rd, she tried again. I was in a small seafood place near the pier, splitting shrimp with Megan, when my phone lit with numbers I hadn't seen in months. Uncle Ray, Aunt Donna, a cousin from Roanoke I hadn't spoken to last Easter. Uncle Ray: Jessica, your mother says you walked out on the family. That doesn't sound like you. Call her. Aunt Donna: Honey, it's Christmas. Whatever happened, family comes first. A distant cousin: Heard you ditched the kids. That's cold. Mom had worked down her contact list like a field marshal rallying reinforcements. She'd fed her version, I vanished without warning, abandoned 5 helpless children, ruined Christmas for a selfish beach trip. She omitted the part where she never asked, the 4 years of unpaid. And Pauline had been reading every word. At 10:14 p.m., a private message from her arrived. Your mother called Ray and Donna. She's telling everyone you abandoned the kids. I'm not going to sit here and watch her rewrite history. With your permission, I'd like to say something at the video call tomorrow. I replied in 4 seconds. Say whatever you need to say, Aunt Pauline. Just tell the truth. Christmas morning, I woke to sunlight spilling through white curtains and the slow, steady rhythm of the ocean. No alarm, no child crying, no mother's voice drifting down the hall. Just waves, unhurried, endless. Megan was already up, moving quietly in socks, brewing coffee in the French press that came with the cottage. The air smelled of fresh grounds and salt. I sat on the porch in a hoodie, hands curled around a warm mug, and for a full 5 minutes, I didn't touch my phone. It was the first Christmas morning in 4 years I'd woken without someone else's schedule dictating the hour. 300 miles north, the other Christmas was unfolding. I know because the group chat stayed open, stayed loud. 6:18 a.m. Hey, Linda, the kids are already up. Lily wants to open presents. I can barely keep up. 7:45. Karen: Mom, just let them open the gifts. I'll sort through later. 8:10. Karen again: Noah's crying again. Did you give him the eardrops? 8:30. Linda: I don't know where the eardrops are, Karen. By 9, Karen and Linda were arguing in all caps about who forgot to pack Noah's medication. Brad had texted Karen a single line she accidentally screenshotted into the chat. This was supposed to be our vacation. The chaos I'd carried alone for 4 years was now spread across the people who'd created it, and they were sinking fast. Then, at 9:12, a private message from Derek. Hey, Merry Christmas. I hope you're having a good time wherever you are. A pause, then a second message. I'm sorry I never said anything. I read it, I didn't reply. Not yet. But something in my chest eased, a small, quiet knot loosening. Every Christmas at 3 p.m., the Mercer family holds a video call. Tradition since Uncle Ray discovered Zoom during the pandemic. 15 people, 4 households, 1 hour of strained cheer, and someone's toddler knocking over the camera. I almost skipped it, but Megan looked at me and said, "You're still family, Jess. You just changed the terms." So at 3:02, I tapped in. The screen filled with faces. Uncle Ray and Aunt Donna and their den, fire crackling behind them, cousins from Roanoke waving, Derek and Tina at their parents' kitchen table, Karen on Mom's couch, eyes red, Noah on her lap, and Mom front and center, Christmas sweater, lipstick perfect, camera angled just so. Even in crisis, she staged the frame. Then my square appeared, me on a porch in a t-shirt, ocean stretching behind me. The reaction was instant. "Oh, look who decided to show up," Mom said, from a beach, no less. Uncle Ray cut in. "Linda, let it go. It's Christmas." Her voice sharpened. "She left 5 children without a sitter on Christmas Eve. Do you know what kind of person does that?" I didn't flinch. I'd had 24 hours to brace. "Mom, I never asked you to babysit. You told me I was going to. I said I had plans. I told you I had plans. You ignored me. Plans, a vacation over family. When was the last time anyone in this family asked me what I wanted for Christmas?" No one spoke. 2 seconds. 3. Then, from a small square in the bottom corner, Aunt Pauline unmuted. "Linda," she said, "I think it's time we talked about this honestly." Every face froze. Pauline's camera tilted slightly upward, ceiling fan turning lazily behind her, gray cardigan, reading glasses perched on her forehead, calm in the way only someone who's carried this truth for years can be calm. "Linda, I love you. You're my sister. But I've been watching what you do to Jessica for 4 years, and I watched what you did to me for 8 years before that." Mom's face tightened. "Pauline, this is not about you." Uncle Ray, firm. "Linda, let her finish." Pauline continued. "I'm in the family group chat. I've read every message, every schedule you sent Jessica without asking, every list Karen forwarded like Jessica was on payroll, and I've seen how you talk about her when you think she isn't paying attention." "What are you talking about?" "Do you want me to read it, Linda?" Pauline's voice never wavered. "Because I saved screenshots, not to build a case, because when I read those messages, I felt sick, and I wanted to remember what it looked like, so I'd never let it happen to anyone else in this family." "Pauline, don't you dare." 3 weeks ago, after Thanksgiving, you wrote to Karen. The screen didn't freeze technically, no one dropped, but every square went motionless. 15 people, 15 rectangles of held breath. Pauline paused, offering Mom one final chance to stop it herself. Mom said nothing. From my porch in the Outer Banks, I held my breath. I knew what was coming. In seconds, everyone else would too. And I wondered, have you ever had a moment where the truth you'd been afraid of was about to be spoken aloud by someone you never expected? What did that feel like? I'd genuinely love to know. Share it in the comments. Pauline adjusted her glasses and began. "Last Christmas, December 24th, 3:14 p.m., while Jessica was driving 5 children to urgent care because Noah had a 102-degree fever, you wrote this to Karen." She read slowly, each word measured. "She's fine. She likes feeling needed. It gives her something to do." No one moved. Karen replied, and I quote, "LOL, true. Better than her sitting alone in that little apartment." On screen, Karen closed her eyes. Pauline continued, 2 years ago, after Jessica suggested rotating babysitting duty, you wrote to Karen, "I'll handle Jessica. She'll come around. She always does." Mom's mouth opened. Nothing came out. "And this one?" Pauline's voice dropped half a register. 3 weeks ago, the night after Thanksgiving, after your daughter told you she had plans and you laughed in her face, you typed this." She held her phone to the camera so everyone could see the screenshot, then read it aloud. "Jessica doesn't have a real life anyway. She should be grateful we include her at all." Silence. Not polite, not awkward, the heavy, total, suffocating kind. 15 squares, no typing, no shifting. Somewhere in Mom's living room, the furnace clicked on. Through her microphone came the faint patter of snow against glass. 5 seconds. 10. The longest silence the Mercer family had ever known. Uncle Ray broke it. Low, careful, every word chosen. "Linda, is that true? Did you write that?" Mom's eyes were wet. Her mouth moved. It was taken out of context. From the couch behind her, Karen spoke. "Mom, I was in that chat. I read them too. They weren't out of context." What followed was a masterclass in someone running out of weapons in real time. Mom tried guilt first. She always does. "I raised those kids alone, 18 years after their father left. No help, no breaks. And this is how you all repay me? Ganging up on me on Christmas Day?" She asked us to take turns 3 years ago. We all said no. I said nothing. That's on me. Mom stared at his square on the screen. Then she turned to Uncle Ray, her last card. Social pressure. "Ray, you're her uncle. Tell her she's wrong. Tell her family comes first." Uncle Ray didn't blink. "Family does come first, Linda. That includes Jessica. And from what I'm hearing, she hasn't come first in a long time." That was when Mom started crying. Even through the tears, even through the trembling, I noticed what she did next. She swiveled her camera toward the living room, where 5 children sat amid torn wrapping paper on the carpet. "Look at them," she said, voice breaking. "They're confused. They don't understand what's happening. This is what Jessica did to them." From somewhere off frame, Karen's voice, exhausted, raw, finished. "Mom, stop. Jessica didn't do this. We did." The screen flickered. Karen had moved. Now Mom sat alone in the frame, crying into the silence she'd created. I hadn't spoken during any of it. I'd watched from my small square, ocean behind me, wind lifting my hair, 15 faces staring at a truth that had been in plain view for years. I hadn't needed to say a word. The messages had said it. Pauline had said it. Even Karen had said it. But now the call had fallen quiet, and every rectangle was looking at me, waiting. So I spoke. "Mom, I love you. I love this family." My voice stayed even, not angry, not trembling, just clear. "I spent 4 Christmases being your babysitter. I paid $180 for Noah's urgent care visit that no one reimbursed. I slept on an air mattress in the kids' room. I canceled plans, skipped holidays with friends, worked extra shifts all year so I could afford one vacation, and you announced I'd be watching the kids without ever asking me." I paused. The wind tugged my hair. The waves rolled steadily behind me. "You said I don't have a real life." I looked straight into the camera. "But I do. It's just that none of you ever thought to look." No one spoke. "I'm not angry," I said. "I'm just done being the person who gives up her life so everyone else can enjoy theirs. If you want me at Christmas next year, I'll be there as family, not as staff." The silence stretched long. Then, from her corner square, Pauline. "Well said, sweetheart." Mom's voice, when it came, was small, smaller than I'd ever heard. "I didn't know you felt that way." I said the only thing left. "You didn't ask." Uncle Ray closed it out. "I think we all have some thinking to do." The kind of sentence spoken when a room needs an exit and no one else will provide it. One by one, the squares said goodbye. Quiet ones. Aunt Donna waved. The Roanoke cousins murmured, "Merry Christmas," and clicked off quickly. Derek gave a small nod before his screen went black. Karen said nothing. She just looked at the camera for a second, then reached forward and ended her call. Mom turned off hers without a word. I sat on the porch long after the screen went dark. The sun sank toward the water, painting the sky copper and apricot. Down the block, someone was grilling. Charcoal smoke drifted up on the salt air. Megan came out with 2 mugs, chamomile tea, because she knows I don't drink coffee in the afternoon. She sat beside me and didn't ask how it went. She'd heard most of it through the screen door. I waited for the old guilt to rise, that familiar whisper. You should have just gone. It would have been easier. It didn't come. Instead, I felt something absent for years. Space. Room to breathe. Like I'd been holding my breath for 4 Christmases and had finally, slowly, completely exhaled. At 7 p.m., a text from Karen. Jess, I'm sorry about the candle comment and the allergy list and all of it. I should have said thank you. I should have said it years ago. I didn't reply, not yet. I needed time. At 7:30, Pauline, Merry Christmas, sweetheart. I'm proud of you. I typed back, Merry Christmas, Aunt Pauline. Thank you for telling the truth. Then I put the phone away and listened to the ocean until the sky went dark. Megan and I flew back on the 27th. The Outer Banks airport was small and half empty. We boarded a regional jet that smelled of recycled air and peanuts. I slept the entire flight, the first unbroken sleep in days. When I stepped into my apartment, everything was as I'd left it. Quiet, clean, the nightstand lamp still glowed from when I'd left in the dark 4 days earlier. Over the next week, the fallout arrived in fragments, like mail you know is coming, but still flinch when it lands. Karen lost $1,600, $1,200 on the non-refundable resort, $400 in change fees. She and Brav had what she later called the worst fight since the twins were born. Brad told her what he'd apparently thought for years. Relying on me every Christmas wasn't generosity, it was entitlement. By New Year's, they'd started looking for a paid babysitter. Derek Venmo'd me $180 on December 29th. No note, no message, just the number. The exact amount of Noah's urgent care copay from last year. I stared at it a long time. It was the first acknowledgement that bill had ever existed. Tina texted separately. I told Derek he needs to step up. No more sitting on the sidelines. I'm sorry it took this long. Uncle Ray called the day after New Year's. I'm glad you spoke up, Jessica. Your mother means well, but she's been so focused on keeping up appearances that she forgot to actually see you. And Mom? Mom didn't call that week. Not a word. The woman who texted daily about nap schedules, eardrops, allergy lists had gone completely silent. That silence said more than 4 years of messages ever had. She called on January 3rd, 10 days of quiet, then her name on my screen at 2 p.m., right after I got home from a shift. I almost let it ring, but I answered. The part of me that picks up from my mother isn't gone. She's just not the only part anymore. Jessica. Her voice was careful, rehearsed, like she'd practiced the opening. I've been thinking, and I know I said things that weren't fair. I noticed the phrasing, weren't fair, not were wrong. A small gap, but it told me exactly where she stood. I need you to understand, she went on. After my father left, I had to hold everything together by myself. No one helped me. And somewhere along the way, I just got used to counting on you. Maybe too much. I understand that, Mom, but understanding why doesn't make it okay. A long breath on her end. Pauline read those messages in front of everyone. And there it was, the real wound. Do you know how humiliated I felt? I closed my eyes. Mom, I know exactly how that feels, because that's how I felt every time you announced my plans in front of the family without asking me. Silence, the kind that settles between two people who love each other and have finally run out of ways to dodge the truth. I'm sorry, Jessica, she said, voice cracking. I am. I should have asked. But something had shifted. When I stepped inside, the dining table was set for 2, not 10. Not 5 kids and an air mattress squeezed into the corner. Just 2 place settings, 2 glasses of water, and the warm, unmistakable smell of chicken pot pie. My favorite, not Lily's, not Ethan's, mine. Mom didn't say much. She moved through the kitchen a little slower, a little quieter than usual. She asked about work. She asked about Megan. She didn't mention babysitting, the video call, or the beach. We ate. We talked about small, safe things. The neighbor's new dog, black ice on the roads, whether the diner on Route 15 had finally changed their menu. It was careful, like two people relearning the rhythm of a conversation they'd been getting wrong for years. I stayed 1 hour and 45 minutes, then I stood, kissed her cheek, and drove home. 2 days later, Karen called. "Hey, Jess, we're looking for a sitter for Valentine's weekend. Do you know anyone good? We're willing to pay this time." I gave her the name of a coworker from the clinic. Karen booked her. $20 an hour, no laminated allergy list, no color-coded schedule, just a straightforward exchange between parents and a professional. On my birthday in January, Derek posted in the group chat, "Happy birthday, Jess. Dinner on me this weekend." The first time in 27 years anyone in that family offered to take me out instead of the reverse. I didn't burn bridges. I simply stopped crossing the ones that only went one way. It's February now. Outside my apartment window, the snow is melting, slow drips from the gutter, tiny rivers threading across the parking lot toward the storm drain. Spring isn't here yet, but you can feel it drawing closer. On my fridge, a new photo. Megan and me on the porch of that Outer Banks Airbnb, coffee mugs raised, ocean blurred and blue behind us. Next to it, one of me and Aunt Pauline from New Year's, her arm around my shoulder, both of us laughing at something I can't quite recall. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I look happy, not performing, genuinely happy. My mother and I aren't fixed. We may never be completely. She still slips sometimes, a comment about how nice it would be if I visited more, a pause on the phone that feels like a guilt trip charging up. But she catches herself now, or at least she tries. And I've learned that even clumsy trying is more than I received for 27 years. For a long time, I believed love meant making myself useful, that if I stopped helping, I'd stop mattering. But sitting on that porch in the Outer Banks on Christmas morning, while my family scrambled 300 miles away, I finally understood. The people who only value you when you're useful don't value you at all. The ones who truly love you will still be there when you stop performing. If you're the one in your family who always says yes, the one who cancels plans, covers costs, watches the kids, sets the table, clears it, and no one ever asks what you need, I want you to hear this clearly. You're allowed to stop, not because you don't love them, but because you love yourself enough to finally claim your own space. That's my story. If it echoed yours, I'd love to read it in the comments. What would you have done? Boarded the plane or stayed? If you've already drawn your own line with family, how did it unfold? Every story shared down there helps someone else feel less alone. If this meant something to you, please hit like and subscribe. It really does help these kinds of stories reach the people who need them most. And if you're ready for another one that hits just as hard, check the link in the description. Thank you for listening.